we're on. Hey, we're live talking to Becky. Hey, Becky, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Gary. It's nice to be here.
Okay, we're kind of winging it. You know, we had technical problems, both of us, and now hopefully this will go glitch-free, not like yesterday with Joe, but I think Joe's interview came out pretty good, even though
Mhm.
we only captured the second half. I know today's is gonna be good. So let's just launch right into it.
Okay.
So Becky, my first question I ask everybody is, hey, what were you doing at the time, and what attracted you
Mhm.
to the guru?
Okay. Well, I was living in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I was working as an operations manager of a website development and project management training center. I ran a training center for corporate folks, and so um, one of my and also so that's what I was doing professionally, but personally, I was really excited about my spiritual life. I was very happy with what I was doing. I had uh, figured out that I really wanted to become a unity minister. And so there were certain classes that I had to take at the church that I was attending um, before I could be enrolled in actual ministerial school. Uh, and so I was in the process of doing all those classes, and I was having a great time. I was excited. It was wonderful, and I felt purpose, and all this other good stuff. And I wasn't looking for any guru. Um, and so the way it all happened, the way I found Sri Chinmoy was that at work, um, part of my job is that I I order the materials for all of the classes that we do. We have computer labs and stuff like that. And so one of the classes required a certain manual. I think it was Corel Draw, I think. But where we got our manuals was from RetLab Graphics, which is Pradhan's company. And so here I am, calling Pradhan to order these manuals, and I'm very spiritually oriented, meditate every day, all that stuff. And then, of course, Pradhan's Pradhan, and so he talks very easily to people, and I talk very easily to people, and so it was just a really natural conversation. We didn't talk about Sri Chinmoy at all. We just had a nice, pleasant conversation on spiritual stuff, and he just, not to mention the fact that we ordered the books that I needed. And then he ended the conversation saying, "You'll find something in the mail." And so I thought, okay, it better be those books I ordered. No, just kidding. So anyway, a few weeks later, I was in my office, which is completely open to the rest of the office, to everybody else. And I get this package, and I just kind of rip it open, and I shake it out, and this book falls into my hand, and it was the Wings of Joy by Sri Chinmoy. And I I just literally this experience was one of the most powerful of my life. And so any words that I use to describe this really don't measure up to what this experience truly was for me. But anyway, I'm looking at this book in my hand, and I feel actual, amazing, palpable, overwhelming love emanating from this book to me. It wasn't just emanating out from the book aimlessly. It was literally this overwhelming sense of love was truly just directed straight at me and my heart. And it just overwhelmed me. I just started to cry. I was in my office, and I was shrinking down in my chair, hoping to heck nobody saw me, because I was completely embarrassed about this. And and also, by the way, I'd been a professional psychic also at this point, so I did that part time. And so I have experiences. with things like this, but this was so overwhelming, and I looked around and I was thinking, God, I hope nobody sees me, and this is so amazing, but even I'm having a hard time believing that this book is sending me this much love.
Wow.
And so then I'm just trying to avoid being seen, shrinking down as low as I can, underneath the barrier around me. And so at that point, I turned the book over. Oh, I forgot a very vital point to the story. Before I go on, I have to step back for a moment. So I meditate every day, and I did at that point. And about 3 or 4 months before this particular experience happened, I was meditating, my usual meditation, and then the next thing I know is in my mind's eye, I see myself in this incredibly beautiful, lush garden, full of life and vitality and just amazing, stuff, beauty and everything else. And in this garden was this amazingly gorgeous and strong and steady and just sturdy stone bench. Nothing could move this bench. And I found myself sitting on this bench, and I saw in my meditation a man come and sit next to me on this bench. And so when I would look at this man, in his face, in his eyes, I saw truly every divine quality that I could list. Love, humor, compassion, intelligence, you name it, whatever, all of the divine qualities that you can even think of. I literally sat there trying to name every one and look at him and say, wow, he embodies all of this stuff. And so in this meditation, we didn't talk to each other. We just communicated silently with each other, just looking at each other in our eyes. And so as that happened, it was just this joy filled my heart in these meditations. And so that's and so this meditation happened for 3 or 4 months straight, every single day, until this experience.
Wow.
And
until wait, let me just be clear here. You had this ongoing experience every day until you had that book drop out.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, you had never heard of Sri Chinmoy. Who was the guy? Who was the man in the experience? Was it Sri Chinmoy?
Well, so I looked at the book, and after I couldn't see anymore, I wiped my eyes, and then I turned the book over, and I saw Sri Chinmoy's picture on the back of the book, and I thought, oh my God. Actually, I thought, holy shit. But that's another thing.
hey, we've all had those holy shit moments, I'll tell you. But that's a good one.
It was a good one. Right. And so I was just like completely and utterly blown away.
Was it the same guy? No, wait, was it the same guy?
It was the same guy. It was the same face. It was the same eyes. It was the same smile. It was the same demeanor. It was the same everything about the man in my meditations was this man in this picture. I had no idea that the man that I was meditating with was real, was an actual live human being. I had no clue.
Okay, stop. Now I have to say it. I have to say it. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Really. Now, okay, now let's pause and gather where we are.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't even met this man, and you've had all this experience. So you're one of these people, I'm, guessing, very open, very receptive. You're spiritual, you're psychic, and this is it. So now I can understand exactly why you would be drawn to this man whose face you're looking at in the book after you've had all these experiences. Now let me ask you, let me just put this in a little, chronological frame. What year is this?
Okay, this is 2000. Oh, I'm sorry. No. This is 1999.
And how long? What was the entire length of your discipleship from 1999?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
almost exactly 2 years.
so let me ask you a very pointed question, and that is, it's clear to me now why you became a disciple. I would too, by the way. I mean, my experience was one, and I think it's pretty typical, where I saw the guy and I said, well, maybe he's got something going, and I was kind of gradually drawn in. But you were drawn in even before you met him. That's remarkable. I'm so happy you shared that, because I hadn't heard that one before, believe me, or anything like it. So now, my question is this. You've had all these remarkable experiences before even meeting the man. So what happened when you actually became a disciple and came face to face in the meditations or whatever? Describe your disciple experience now. This is the pre-disciple experience is pretty amazing. Now let's go to the disciple experience.
I loved being a disciple. I wasn't very good at it. I couldn't fit into a lot of the tiny boxes that we were, trying to fit into. But so all of those things set aside, all those issues, all those thoughts and feelings and what I fit into and what I didn't, and all those, put those aside for a minute. It was phenomenal. It changed my life. It was the moment that changed the rest of my life, for the better. It stepped everything up to a new level. So I thought that I had purpose and drive, and I thought that I was all, excited about my becoming a unity minister and all that stuff, and I was. It was the most exciting thing in my life at the time. But the moment I saw that picture, I called Pradhan and I said, what do I have to do? I'm in. Like, tell me. Where do I go? Who do I talk to? What? And so when I was a disciple and I was able to be in New York, because I was in the D.C. Center, and so I was able to go up to New York on a regular basis every other weekend. And I made my life fit into whatever opportunity I could do to go to New York. I made it happen. And to be in Guru's presence was just phenomenal. It was the reason why I was there. So I didn't get into all the other things about the whole about what he did. I didn't get into the weightlifting. I didn't get into, I didn't like his poems very much. I didn't really like his artwork very much. I loved the birds, though. I loved the birds. But I couldn't meditate with the transcendental. I tried, oh my God, did I try. I tried so hard to meditate with that transcendental, because that was what we were supposed to do. And I was so eager, and I was so earnest, and I was so wanting desperately to really be the best disciple that I could be. But the only thing that I really had that made me a disciple of any worth or whatever is that I could meditate with him when I was in his presence. My life just sort of exploded. My inner life, my spiritual life. It was every time I saw him and every time I meditated with him, it was just this awakening experience. It was very, very deep. It was very open. It was amazing and phenomenal, and that was the reason why I was there.
Wow! Listen, just for the historical record, for people who may be looking on this tape and not totally familiar with this scene, two things you mentioned I want to clarify. When you said the birds, these are little birds that Sri Chinmoy drew. They're called soul birds. I think they were called soul birds, and he would draw them, and they had a very special spiritual significance, which we don't need to go into. But okay, yeah. That was the birds. The other thing, and I think this came up in the Yoga Law interview, the transcendental picture is probably the one thing that every disciple is told to do. Every disciple does.
Mm-hmm.
Sri Chinmoy Guru took a picture in, I don't know, 1966. Sarma took it. It became known as the Transcendental. Supposedly, that picture caught him when he was in his highest consciousness, as he described it, his transcendental consciousness. So we as disciples would sit there at our shrines with his picture there on the shrine, and we would concentrate and focus on that picture so as to enter into that very same consciousness. I guess some people would call it cosmic consciousness or Krishna consciousness or universal oneness, whatever it was, transcendental consciousness. So that was our main practice, and then we had our own individual things. So okay, so now you came in the center, you had all this you had all this thing going on for you, and so what was the really highlight of your life in the center? What was the big thing for you in the center?
Being there.
No,
being a part of it.
Nothing specific, but just being there. But you didn't live in New York, right? You came to visit frequently. Okay.
I went every other weekend. I did from DC. I drove up to DC. I had a van.
Okay.
It was just I just knew that it was where I needed to be, and it's what I wanted. It's the experience that was meant for me at the time, and I didn't doubt it. I didn't didn't judge myself or anything else for it. I didn't judge the experience. I judged myself in the sense that looking back is always 20/20, right? So at the time, I knew it was the right thing for me and all that stuff. And at first it was great. At first, and all the rules kind of made sense to me. So I didn't really have any issue with any of the rules. I didn't. The celibacy, the vegetarianism, the selfless service, the meditations, all of the stuff that we were expected to do, they all made sense to me. I mean, I'd read about them all before in other books and other paths and stuff. So nothing was strange, or it didn't seem strange to me. It was very exciting. And I think this is the thing that really is an important point for me, is that, being on the path is not for the faint-hearted.
No, I'm glad you're saying that. I love the hero warrior kind of thing. Yeah, good. Not for the faint-hearted. Not for the meek. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It is not. No, it is not. It requires everything. It requires pinpointed focus to such a degree that it just you can't do it without that.
No.
You can't. And so so that was part of the thrill. That was part of the thrill for me. Because
I'm so happy you're saying this, and I want to just, if I can jump in, make a distinction between two types of disciple. They were like the weekend warriors. They were disciples. They came to the events, but they had their private lives, and their families and the whole thing. And then there was like, and I'm putting you in this category because even though you didn't live there in Queens, you came up every weekend, and you plunged
every other weekend.
Every other weekend. And in other words, you were one of those committed people. In other words, you lock, stock, and barrel. Not like, I'm just going to visit once in a while and I'll do my stuff at home, but I'll also have my job, my friends, my family, and stuff like that. No, you were like in totally, right?
I was in totally, completely, 100%. It was my every waking moment. I would, now I'm not, the thing is that, I was in it. I mean, I considered myself an absolute disciple. I mean, there was no question in my mind or in my heart or in my being that I wasn't a disciple. There was no question. I didn't have that angst or whatever. I jumped into the deep end, and I mean, I just dived right in, and I was in. And so, the questions that I had, or the reason why I only lasted 2 years after all of this, um,
Because some people,
was,
but listen, some people it's like a marriage. Some people lasted 40 years versus two, but I don't know what was the quality. You had a very it sounded like you have a very intense 2 years. I know people who in longer that their experience wasn't that intense.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, I gave it everything. I gave it everything, and it remains even now. In 2015, and Happy New Year, by the way! Yay!
Happy New Year! Happy New Year, everybody! What a way! This is the best New Year I can imagine. Talking
This is
talking
the
to
best
you
New
and hearing
Year.
great story, great story.
Yeah. So what was I saying? I was just
Okay, so it's
so all these years later,
2015. You left in 2000, right?
2001,
Okay,
2001. So it was from
14 years.
1999 to
So
2001. Yeah.
14 years. You're still very intense. I can see it. I can hear
Hmm.
it. You're very intense. I love it.
It remains to be one of the highlights of my life.
Mine too.
Yeah. And you know, I know a lot of disciples or ex-disciples feel a lot of anger or a lot of sadness or a lot of conflicting kind of emotions about the whole thing, um, and and um, and the fact is that I don't regret a single moment.
Good.
Um,
I'm glad
I
you don't.
I don't.
I don't either.
So
But
so the thing is that I didn't have the experience that a lot of other people had. You
and
know.
I was about to say the same thing. I said, yeah, I was not part of the sex circle, thank God. So I would have a whole different take on things right
Yeah,
now.
you know, I was
And you would
probably
too. Yeah. Right.
I was probably the lowest of the lowest, you know, disciple that ever existed in disciplehood.
No,
I
but
mean,
he must have
he didn't know who I was. He had no clue. I mean, except for a couple of times when he did focus on me very specifically. I had a couple of really cool experiences, and one I was in PS 86, and I was in the hallway out in the hallway where they had all the tables and you could look at all the stuff and all that stuff. Well, I was all the way in the back toward, you know, when he would come in, he would go all the way to that back door and then go into the room. And so I was standing back there looking at that last table that was there. And the next thing I know is like everybody's shh, you know, and the hush, and everybody's shuffling around, and everybody's, you know, that excitement, you know,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
that excitement. And so I kind of looked up, and Guru was walking down the hall, and I was right in the middle of the hall, right there, and he just stared at me the whole time. He just looked at me the entire length of the hall, and I was just like locked in place. I was just like, oh my God. And so he just walked straight to me, and right before he got to me, he turned and walked into the room. But the entire time he just looked at me, and it was just I don't know what to say about it. I felt his approval. I don't know what to say. I don't
Well,
know how.
he must have. Uh, okay, assuming he had some kind of spiritual thing going on, and we certainly think he did. He must have known inwardly your devotion, even though weren't too close in the outer sense. He must have had a sense of your real connection, even that thing before you met him with the book and the whole thing. So, did you ever get a sense that he knew how connected you were inwardly, if not, outwardly, paying a lot of attention to you and stuff like that?
So that was sort of the first experience I had. So again, I'm like, you know, I didn't have any personal experience. He never spoke to me personally. I had one birthday where I was able to go up in front of him and, you know, get the flower and, you know, all that stuff. I had one of those. I never went on a Christmas trip. You know, I never did any of these things that disciples do. You know,
I know.
I did go to the Minneapolis when he did the Twin Cities Peace concert in 2000. I spent 3 months in Minneapolis working on that concert. And so I did do that. And then when the Peace Run rolled through D.C., I kind of helped, and I can't remember his name. Arpan. Arpan was the one that was doing it at that point in time, and so, I was.
I love Arpon. If he's out there, I love Arpon. He was a sweet guy, great guy. So many great people we
Do you
met at
know? I
school.
have to say, I never had any interactions with Arpan except for that one day that he was rolling through D.C. And I got to tell you something. He really touched my heart.
Yeah,
Arpan was just,
sweet,
yeah. I
sweet.
had that one day of just seeing how he was
Hmm.
in this whole, what he did and what he offered, you know, and he really did. He touched my heart, and I was so grateful to know him. So many other, oh my God, so many incredibly divine, wonderful, beautiful souls in this, that I met and that I was able to really know inside my heart that I love them. You know,
I
there's
had
so
the same
many.
experience. I'll tell you,
Yeah,
with people is a good number of people,
yeah,
disciples in the center. I know just what you're talking about. It's so great to talk to disciples because yoga, like when he was saying, I didn't know him in the center. I didn't know you in the center, of course, because I'm a lot older, and even
yeah,
but when they tell you when you describe your experience, I said I know what that's like because I went through the same thing. So.
yeah.
Wow, you're having a great 2 years at least. Very intense 2 years.
So it was a great 2 years, but there was also a lot of um, inner turmoil. My life has not really any part of my life from childhood to now has really been all that easy. There have just been uh, obstacles that have been in my way, not in a sense of, I mean, now looking at it, I don't view obstacles as negative things. I use them as, just opportunities to grow and to become more of who I am. But, I had several of them while I was a disciple, and it was very involved in the whole thing. It was all involved. It was all one thing. All the beautiful experiences that I had as a disciple, everything was interconnected with the different issues that I had in my life. It was all one kind of thing, and so the I had a lot of questions. I as connected as I was to him, and as much as I loved him, and I have to say that even knowing what I know today about who he is and how he became, and all the girls that suffered, um, through all of that really awful stuff. Um, there's still a part of my heart that where I can say that I love him. He gave me some things that nobody else could give me, and they came from him. And so, you know, I have to honor him for that. I can't honor him for the other things that he did, and for the harm he caused. I can't do that. Um, I can't. Um, but I can't deny that I benefited greatly from knowing him and from having that time with him. I can't deny that it is truly it really redirected my life into a greater knowing of myself and into just a deeper awareness of what life truly is and what it means. And I just wouldn't be who I am today if I did not have that experience with him. And because of that, I just cannot regret it. Even the hardships, even the questions, even the different things that I went through as a disciple, and afterwards, when I left the path, I was heartbroken. I mean, I was heartbroken leaving the path. And so for folks who are listening to this that aren't involved in the Sri Chinmoy path or whatever. When I say the path, I'm talking about the Sri Chinmoy path. I'm not saying that this is the only path ever to be lived or anything. I'm just saying this. When I say the path, that's what I'm referring to. So just to clarify that, because I know
yeah. Good, anyway. No, good point. Because don't forget, when we're making these videos for a record, historically, people will look at, hopefully, and get an insight into what life was like for disciples of Sri Chinmoy. So everything we can clarify, that's a good clarification. I just want to add one thing. Boy, I can only say amen to what you just said about how you feel in spite of all the bad news. And I can share that because I feel much the same way. Put it that way. Yeah. Much the same way. There's always a piece of me that said, wow, I never had an experience like that. I never had a love like that. Never. Ever. Yeah. Okay, it didn't last, but I'm saying when it was going on, that bhakti thing, that devotional thing, there's no love like that. It's not a romantic thing. It's not a sexual thing. It's a divine thing. And I'll tell you, it's just like you, boy. That put a mark on me, changed my whole life, and I'm so happy for that experience. And again, I'm not taking anything away from, as you say, the girls, because we call them girls, and they were girls. Even though they were 30 or 20 or whatever. Anyway, I'm not taking away anything from their trauma, and I'm living with Anne, who was very, very traumatized by that experience. So I'm not unaware of that. But at the same time, what we have is our own experience, and my experience. I'm totally with you on that. So why did you leave?
Okay, the big question. I had to, because I didn't feel authentically myself. Well, there were a couple of reasons. One is another amazing experience that was it was traumatic for me, but it was on the same level of getting that book and feeling that love. And so. But before I get to that experience, I wanted to say that I believed I was really into the vegetarianism and the celibacy and the all of the self-service and all, but I felt alone on the path a lot of the times because there wasn't anybody to talk to. Because on the path, you had to really honor each other's paths, each other's experience. And so the thing about living a life that is so devoted, like this one required, is that you had to. How do I word this? You had to stay focused, and anything that took your focus away from the devotion, from the surrender, from the love, from that absolute complete dedication to this, and the fact is that life happens. We're human. We're in this human body. We have human functions. We have, we live in a physical world, in a society. I mean, all of these things, they affect us, and so we have to honor those things. And so, but the thing is, like the celibacy thing. I believed in it. I thought it was a great idea. I tried my best. And
it is a nice idea. It is a nice idea.
I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. No. But the other thing is, but there's an explanation to that. It's not just that I just wanted to go out and have sex. It wasn't like that. It really wasn't. What it was that, I had to respect and honor all the other people that were on the path. So if I had any lower vital thoughts, is the way we call it, I couldn't share those with anybody on the path.
No,
and I couldn't.
You'd be reported. You would be reported to the guru.
There was nobody to talk to about it, and there was nobody to say, hey, listen, I've got an issue right now and I don't know how to handle it. I really want to be able to handle it. I really want to be able to use this energy so that I can focus it on the path, on my path, on my spiritual path here in the center. I want to be able to focus it there. But there was nobody to talk to. There was nobody to get advice from, or to have a shoulder to cry on, or there was no support system that was available, because nobody could be available to be support, because you never know who was going to report you. You never know who you might actually affect their aspiration. Like if you admitted that you had some lower vital thoughts and then you talked to them about it, and then they were like, oh, well, she has lower vital thoughts. I have lower vital. Oh, now I can start experiencing those more fully, as opposed to concentrating on my aspiration on the path. And so then, you've got these things. You can't do it because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, and so there was just no support available. And so that was lonely. It was isolating.
It was a path of denial. It was absolutely, and it's so ironic, because so much of the sex or lower vital activity, which was that a code name for sex, was going on with the guru and all the girls, and yet the disciples didn't know about it or weren't involved in that. It was like denying your own sexuality. You're right. You wouldn't talk about it because you'd get reported, or you're afraid of infecting somebody else with lower vital thoughts. It was like, there was such a contradiction there, in spite of all the wonderful things that was going on in other ways, as we've described. But yeah, I see what you say. Yeah, you had to deny basically your humanity. Hey, we're human. We're not monks.
And so it was the isolation that got me. It wasn't, if I had somebody to talk to, if I had somebody to be like a mentor or something like that, who played the mentor role, and I could go to them and say, listen, these are the issues that I'm dealing with, and these are the, how do I do this? How do I stay on the path, and righteously so? And I use that word in the highest sense, righteously, but righteously so, stay on the path, and really allow the denial of the lower vital, but in such a way that you actually utilize that energy for spiritual purposes. There's a way to deny one thing, but then be able to express it in another way successfully. But then there's a way that you deny that, but you can't go there either, and so you just end up blowing up at some point. And so if I'd had some kind of support for that, I doubt seriously that I would be off the path. I'd probably still be on the path, because I loved it so much.
And so it was just a matter of you couldn't take it anymore. Because, by the way, the path was not, and the center was not set up to have any mentoring. There was nobody to be between you and the guru. And there was no, now there was some mentoring going on, girl to girl kind of thing, but that was in a different kind of mentoring. But really, what you're talking about, there was no mentoring. It was just like you had to work your own stuff out inwardly, supposedly. You sit there
by myself
at the shrine,
on my own.
Keep focusing on the picture, and throwing, because he would say, "Oh, throw all your lower vital thoughts into me, either during the meditations or during the picture."
I guess we all did, because he sure as heck had them, didn't he? But anyway.
Well, he was supposed to. Well, wait. He was supposed to
transmute them.
He was supposed to take them, and I heard him say this. He'll take your impurity and he'll throw it into the cosmic consciousness to dissolve them. But I think he kept a few. From what I hear.
But anyway.
And he had his own anyway. He had his own going on. But anyway, okay. So.
So that was one thing. So I ended up. So what happened for me is I ended up having a friends with benefit relationship with somebody who was not on the path. I couldn't do that to anybody else on the path.
Right.
But with somebody who was not on the path, and I felt guilty, and I felt like a failure, like I couldn't handle it.
Yes.
Yes. And but I also, over time, I started getting upset, like angry, um, because I was like, I'm doing my best here, and there's no way for me to be truly authentic with who I am in this very moment and live this path.
No.
I started to get, just really sort of upset with the fact that there was just no way to truly be who I am, because who I am just doesn't fit into the box. I mean, I tried to stuff myself in that damn box every which way I knew how, and I could not succeed because there was some part of me that's hanging over the edge. And it just finally, I couldn't take that. It didn't feel authentic to me. And there was this part of me, as much as I believed in all these things that we were supposed to do. I mean, I actually believed in all this stuff. But I couldn't do it.
No.
There were nice ideas, but they didn't manifest for me. But besides that, I had this feeling inside of me that grew over time, that I felt surely I can achieve a spiritual life that is incredible and amazing and powerful, and I can live a loving, dedicated life to God and to all that is God, and still be a part of this world, and still be able to live in society, to operate as a human being with all of the things that entails. I had this feeling, this growing feeling in the back of me that just kept getting stronger and stronger, and saying, you know what, I don't know that I'm really meant to fit into this box. As much as I wanted to, and as much as I craved it, and as much as I loved Guru, and as much as I loved everybody else, all my brothers and sisters, and oh my God, did I love my brothers and sisters. I mean, it was amazing to just go for celebrations and see all these incredible, amazing lights that were just shining all over the place. It was like better than Christmas, and it was just, and I got to hang out with them. I got to feel that energy, It was amazing. And it was just, with all of that, I felt this sense of, I can't fit into this box, and it's going to break me to keep trying.
So how did you make the break? I see where you got to with that conflict and the box, and that was a great image, by the way, a little part hanging over. I think we've all gone through that, trying to fit in the box, but there's still something that does that. So how did you make the break? Now, a lot of people get kicked out for doing different things, and then some
I didn't get kicked out that way.
No, I'm not saying you did, but I'm saying some people get kicked out, and some people manage to walk away, like me and like Yoga Loy, and like Fulela. And so how did you make the break?
I walked away. But so actually, what happened was September 11th happened, and I had an extraordinary experience, which is probably too long for this interview. But if we do another one, I'll share it with you then. But
give us just tell us what it's about, and then maybe we'll do a separate little interview just on that experience.
Okay. Okay.
Just half the version, and we'll do a longer one.
Oh, I don't know how to condense this. Hold on a second. Let me.
Well, listen, if you want to do the whole thing, do it. Look, listen. If people are interested, they'll watch. If they won't, they'll fast forward or they'll turn it off.
Oh my goodness. Well, the thing is that before I get into that experience, I have to share the other experience that I had first, because it all ties in. And so let me do that one, and hopefully everybody will be interested. So I had an experience in New York. I think it was at celebrations, but it could have been one of my long weekends. But I was there, and I was feeling the love. I was at the tennis courts for, I don't know, I think it was like 3 or 4 days, and I was there every day, and I was excited about it. I was there. I mean, I was there. I was present in mind, body, spirit, emotions. You know, every part of me was just so there. And I was staying there as long as I could, and whenever Guru was at the tennis courts, I was there. And I was meditating. And I was meditating just, you know, whenever I was there with him, my meditations were profound. And so I had several days of profound meditation, and I was open, and I felt love, and I felt connection, and I felt dedication. And you know, it was those times that could see me through all of the other times, you know. So all those times when I was meditating in his presence, that's what got me through all of that other stuff, because it just brought me back to center. It brought me back to the reason why I was there. It brought me back to myself. It brought me back to an amazing, expansive experience. And so I was having this amazing, expansive experience, and I was feeling so much love in my heart for Guru, for myself, for my brothers and sisters, for everybody, bigger, wider, deeper than any other experience that I'd had up to that point. And so I was just wide open. And the really important thing, though, here that I have to say is that I was wide open, but I loved Guru more in that moment than I did ever before. I mean, that's an important point here. And so, anyway, so you know how everybody kind of has the chance to line up and walk before, do the walk by and all that stuff. So at one point, all the older girls were all lined up to pass by in front of him, and so I took that opportunity to go run across to the store, get something to drink, and go to the bathroom, etc., and then come back in. And so, and my legs were killing me at that point. Those bleachers were the worst. Those bleachers were the worst.
I'm glad I left before that whole thing happened. I hate bleachers.
The bleachers were killer. But anyway, so he was down there on his podium thing, or his elevated place, and the girls were lined up, and I was walking out. I was at the gate of the tennis court, and I was very devotional. I had my hands, and I turned around and I looked, for one last adoring glimpse of my Guru before I walked out, and feeling all that love, and just, and as I turned to swing to look back, Guru was here and the gate was here. So as I turned back to go out to the gate, I swung past. I had my gaze was swinging past the line of girls that were in front of him, and one of the girls, she had long brown hair that if it were cut short, it would have been really curly, but because of the length of it, it was just wavy. But anyway, it was dark brown hair, and she was standing in line waiting, and she was also like this, and but her whole top, her bottom half was facing Guru, but the top half was like looking back up into the bleachers, and she had this look on her face. Well, I saw the look on her face after I caught, but she was looking back, and I was swinging this way, and we caught each other's gaze. I mean, we caught each other's eyes, and we locked for like a split second. And what I saw in her gaze or in her eyes, was something that I wasn't expecting, that I never expected, that threw me so hard that literally I fell backwards, and the gate, the post of the gate actually caught me. Otherwise, I would have fallen down. But what I saw in her eyes um, was trauma and was torture and was great, great, great pain. And I'm psychic, and I get these, these knowings or these experiences. And what happened was I saw in her eyes, and I knew that she was having sex with Guru, that she didn't want to, that she was tortured by it, she was traumatized by it, that she didn't know how to get out of it, she didn't know how to stop it. I knew that he was using his status as her guru to sort of manipulate her into doing what he wanted her to do. I saw and knew all of this in one split moment, and it was the most traumatizing for me to actually see this torture and trauma in somebody else, and know that my guru, the one that I loved so deeply in that very moment, was the one that was causing this trauma and torture in this person. And she saw, what was amazing to me was that the girl, as we locked our gazes, she saw that I saw, and she immediately just, flipped around, and she just looked forward, and she looked down, and she was like hiding her eyes, and I just kind of stumbled out of the gate, and I just I was in shock. That was the last thing that I ever I never thought about him in any kind of sexual way. I never thought about him having sex with anybody. It was never anything in my consciousness. It was never anything that I ever thought of or wanted to think about, or it was just nothing. It was such a shock to go there at all, and I did not want that information. That's the thing that was really important. I did not want that information. I did not want to know that. I didn't. It just blew me away. It just blew everything that I was doing away. It was just it was. I loved being a disciple. I wanted to be a disciple.
And so at that point, you knew you couldn't be a disciple anymore. Is that, or did it take some time?
No, actually, no. I was actually in shock for a while. I went out and I sat on that brick wall, or that stone wall across the street, and I just had to. I knew I had to go in there to get my stuff eventually, but I think, and I sat there for a while just numb and just kind of trying to figure it all out, and just kind of just processing it, what happened. It's kind of like a car accident, like being thrown from the vehicle and you're lying on the side of the road and you're just like laying there, and like you just got smashed up, and so, it just, and the thing that really, and I know a lot of people don't really understand what I'm about to say. I know a few other disciples that I've taught, I've ex-disciples that I've shared this part of the story with. They don't understand how this could happen. But what happened for me is that I forgot about that I had that experience. I don't exactly know how.
I want to say something about that. I have heard stories just like this. I don't mean this the content, but where disciples forget key things, and that's not unusual. Now, why that is Guru blocking that part of the mind? That was one of the disciples. I think Guru blocked part of my mind. I don't know. I have no idea. But you're not alone in having that experience. That experience of forgetting a key thing. How could you forget that? But you did. There's something going on there, but you're not alone with that.
I think what happened for me was that I was so open. And I think my openness is what caused me to actually have the experience. Because I don't think if I was that open, I wouldn't have been able to see it. You
No, it
know,
doesn't sound. It doesn't sound. It doesn't. It sounds like what you're saying is absolutely correct. Just like you were so open in the very, very beginning of your before you became a disciple, you were so open that you had that vision, and then the book. And I mean, no, you're open. So yes, I'm sure 99.9% of the people would have that same eye contact with that woman or that girl, and not, not even, not wouldn't even dawn on them. But you were open and receptive, and you got it.
But it wasn't just. I mean, yes, it wasn't. It wasn't just that I was generally speaking open and receptive. Although yes, that does play a part, I think. The fact that I am psychic and that I do have that ability to do that. But I think, though, that the thing that moment, though, I was so connected with Guru, and I was so in love, not, sexually or, spiritually in love. I was in the love, capital L, and
Capital D, divine. I know what you mean.
Yes.
I had that experience myself.
So
Divine,
I was, so I was in that place. And I had spent days being in that place with him. And because of that, when we have those experiences, we are just open. It doesn't matter how psychic we are. It doesn't matter how whatever we are. When we're in that, when we allow that, we are open. And I think that experience, ironically, is the reason why I was able to see what I saw, which is, anyway. So that's that experience, and so I forgot about it. I guess my body or my mind or my spirit, whatever, didn't know how to process it, so it just kind of like said, okay, we'll put that on the back burner for a moment, and then I just kind of kept going on. But what happened is my health deteriorated dramatically.
Oh, interesting.
I ended up having some extraordinarily severe experiences with my health, and it was I couldn't think anymore. I was gaining weight. I was losing hair. I was my heart palpitations, and I mean, I was just going through a whole lot of my whole body was just kind of shutting down one little piece at a time, and so that actually was part of. So I didn't remember that incident, but it spawned all of these health issues that got me to wonder if this really was a healthy path for me.
Well, Becky,
couldn't do it.
Okay. I hope you don't mind my doing this at this point, because there's something going on here with my mom, and also, more importantly, I think there's a connection, and I think you agree, between your denial of your experience and your health issues. So let me just say one final thing here, and I want to bring the interview in. I want people to see this interview in its entirety. I don't want them to say, "Oh, look, it's too long." So listen. Yeah. So I take it.
Let's take a break.
I take it you made your way out fine, and at some point. But now, in summation, so. What is your life like now? Let's end on that. Let's end on that note, because I think it's going to be a good note. What's your life like now?
It's the same path that was always the major path for me, which is love and authenticity. So. Everything that I do, I don't try to deny anything. I don't try to deny. If I feel a pain, I don't deny it. I live through it. I work my way through it. And through that, working through pain, I am able to feel more love. And that is my reason for being, is to embody as much love as I know how to embody, and to share it. not just to have it for myself, but to give it and to receive it. It's all about the love.
And let me say something. I've known you very little, not that long, but you share it. You give it, and you give it. No, you share it and you give it in great measure. I'm telling you, you're a love. You're the path of love, Becky. You're the path of. Listen, you can't end on a better note than love. I mean, and you just brought it all. You brought it all home. Well, listen. It just goes to show it's not how long you're on the path, it's how intense it is. Your 2 years, I'm telling you, I've heard lots of stories from people who are on the path 20, 25, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you've crammed 30 years of experience and more into your 2 years. I just want to say thank you so much, Becky. This has been an unbelievable joy in spite of we know how it is, the trauma to talk about is hard. But thank you, Becky. I love you. You're so great. You're so wonderful. You're so terrific. I'm going to do my gosh show.
I love you too, Gary. You're awesome, and I wish you the best. I hope that whatever's happening with your mom is going to work out for the highest and best.
I think it's winding down even maybe today. That's why I got to go. But you know what? It's still all good. She's had a great life. I have a great life. You have a great life. It's a great life.
It is. It is. And it's all about the love if we let it be.
You know, that's it. You know, say that again. I want to end it right on that note. You say that again. It's all about the love if we just let it be. Amen. Okay, yeah. Becky, thanks so much, and I'll see you on YouTube. I'm going to watch this right away. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.